I stared at my belongings scattered across the front lawn, the morning dew soaking into my books, clothes, and photo albums. My stepfather, Marcus, stood on the porch with his arms crossed, looking smug in his expensive suit. "Your mother's been gone for 6 months," he announced. "Time for you to move on, Emma. This is my house now." My name is Emma Sullivan, and at 26, I was watching the man my mother married 3 years ago trying to throw me out of my childhood home. The home my mother had spent 20 years paying off while raising me alone. "You can't do this, Marcus," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mom wouldn't want." "What your mother wanted doesn't matter anymore," he cut me off. "The deed's in my name now. I've got plans for this place, and they don't include you living here rent-free." I bent down to pick up a sodden photo album, my heart aching as I saw water damage on pictures of Mom and me at my college graduation. Marcus had thrown everything out carelessly, not bothering to protect any of it from the morning moisture. "I have until the end of the month," I said. "That's what you agreed to at the funeral." He laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet morning air. "Plans change. I've got contractors coming tomorrow to start renovations. You need to be gone by tonight." I looked up at the house, at the window of my childhood bedroom, where Mom used to wave goodbye every morning as I left for school. The rose bushes she lovingly tended still bloomed beneath it, seemingly oblivious to how much had changed. "At least let me pack properly," I pleaded. "Some of these things are irreplaceable." "Should have thought of that when I told you last week to start moving," he replied. "Not my fault you didn't take me seriously." But he hadn't told me anything last week. I'd been at work, putting in extra hours at the architectural firm where I'd recently been promoted. The promotion Mom never got to see. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Sandra, Mom's best friend, responding to my panicked text from earlier. "Stay calm," her message read. "Remember what your mother told you before she passed. Check your email. Sent you something important." I remembered Mom's last days in the hospital, how she'd insisted on speaking to me alone despite Marcus's protests. She'd been so weak, but her eyes were clear and focused. "Emma, sweetheart," she'd whispered. "There are papers. Sandra has copies. Don't tell Marcus. Promise me you'll talk to Sandra if anything happens." I promised, confused but trusting her judgment. Then she'd slipped away 2 days later, leaving me alone with a stepfather who quickly shone his true colors. "You have 1 hour to get what you can carry," Marcus announced, checking his expensive watch. "Anything left goes in the dumpster I'm having delivered." I walked to my car, hands shaking as I opened my laptop. There in my inbox was Sandra's email, sent 10 minutes ago. Attached were scanned documents, legal papers I'd never seen before. My eyes widened as I read. Mom hadn't been as naive as Marcus assumed. She'd set up a living trust 2 years ago, long before her diagnosis. The house, her savings, everything had been quietly transferred into it. And I was the sole beneficiary. Marcus's name wasn't on anything. The papers he was so confident about, they meant nothing. I printed the documents at my car's mobile printer, a work expense that was proving invaluable. As the pages came out, I called the police non-emergency line. "Yes, I'd like to report an illegal eviction," I said, loud enough for Marcus to hear from the porch. "My stepfather is throwing my belongings out and trying to force me from my property." Marcus's smug expression faltered slightly. "Your property?" he scoffed. "I have the deed right here. Your mother signed everything over to me before she died." I walked back toward the house, documents in hand. "No, Marcus. Mom signed everything over to a trust. For me, 2 years ago." I held up the papers. "You never bothered to check the property records, did you? Too busy planning your renovations?" His face went from confident to confused to pale in seconds. "You're lying," he stammered. "Helen would never." "Mom knew exactly what she was doing," I said, my voice stronger now. "And so do I. The police are on their way. I suggest you start bringing my belongings back inside before they arrive." The sound of approaching sirens cut through the morning air. Marcus's facade cracked completely as he realized his carefully laid plans were falling apart. Mom had protected me one last time, and now it was my turn to protect everything she'd worked for. 2 police officers arrived within minutes. Marcus immediately switched to his charming persona, the same one that had fooled my mother initially. "Officers, this is the family misunderstanding," he said smoothly. "My stepdaughter is having trouble accepting changes after her mother's passing." I silently handed them the trust documents along with photos I'd taken of my scattered belongings. The older officer reviewed them while his partner spoke with Marcus. Sir, the officer said finally, according to these legal documents, you have no authority to evict Ms. Sullivan. This property belongs to her through a living trust. Marcus's charm evaporated. That's impossible. I have papers. He stormed inside, returning with a folder. Look, Helen signed the house over to me. The officer compared the documents. Sir, your paperwork is dated after the trust was established. Once the property was in the trust, your wife couldn't legally transfer it to you. These documents aren't valid. I watched Marcus's face contort with rage. This is ridiculous. I was her husband. For 3 years, I said quietly. She was my mother for 26. While the officers supervised, I began collecting my belongings from the lawn. Sandra arrived, rushing to help me gather the water-damaged photos and books. Your mother was so clever, she whispered as we worked. She knew exactly what Marcus was after. That's why she made me promise to keep copies of everything. Marcus paced the porch, frantically calling someone on his phone. I could hear snippets of his conversation. What do you mean it's legitimate? No. I need you to find a way around it. There must be something. The officers approached him. Sir, you need to assist in returning Ms. Sullivan's belongings inside. Then we can discuss your timeline for vacating the property. Vacating? Marcus sputtered. I live here. Actually, I said, holding up another document. The trust is clear about that too. Any secondary residents need my explicit permission to stay. Permission I'm not giving you. Sandra squeezed my hand supportively as Marcus's face turned an alarming shade of red. You ungrateful little. He took a step toward me, but the officers moved between us. Sir, we suggest you calm down, one warned. Unless you'd like to discuss this at the station. Under police supervision, Marcus begrudgingly helped bring my belongings back inside. Every trip up the stairs was punctuated by muttered threats and promises of legal action. I ignored him, focusing instead on assessing the damage to Mom's photos. I'll help you restore these, Sandra offered, carefully separating stuck pages in a photo album. I have copies of most of them anyway. Marcus overheard this and glared at Sandra. You knew about this all along, didn't you? You helped Helen deceive me. Helen protected her daughter from a man who showed his true colors the moment she passed away. Sandra replied calmly. I'd say she made the right choice. Once everything was back inside, the officers gave Marcus 1 hour to pack his essential belongings. They would return later to supervise him removing the rest of his things. As Marcus stormed around upstairs, slamming drawers and cursing, I sat in Mom's favorite armchair, running my fingers over its worn fabric. The chair he wanted to throw away because it didn't match his vision for renovations. Sandra brought me tea in Mom's old flowered mug. You know this isn't over, right? He'll try to fight it. I nodded, taking a sip. Let him try. Mom made sure everything was legally airtight. She told me once that marrying Marcus was her mistake, but she wouldn't let it become my burden. She was always protective of you. Sandra smiled. Even at the end, her main concern was making sure you'd be okay. Marcus appeared with 2 suitcases, his perfect appearance now disheveled. This is just temporary, he announced. My lawyer will be in touch. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I met his gaze steadily. No, Marcus, you had no idea who you were dealing with. Mom wasn't just some naive widow you could manipulate. And I'm not just some inconvenient stepdaughter you can throw away. He stormed out, the door slamming behind him. Through the window, I watched him load his luxury car, the one he bought using Mom's insurance money. Good riddance, Sandra muttered. I held Mom's mug tighter, feeling tears finally start to fall. I miss her so much. Sandra hugged me. She's still protecting you, sweetheart. And now it's your turn to protect everything she built. The sound of Marcus's car fading away felt like the end of a nightmare. But I knew Sandra was right. This wasn't over yet. At least now I was fighting from a position of strength, backed by Mom's love and foresight. I took another sip of tea, already planning my next steps. Marcus wanted a fight? Fine. He was about to learn what happened when you underestimated both mother and daughter. 3 weeks later, I sat across from Marcus and his lawyer in a mediation room. He filed a lawsuit, claiming Mom had been unduly influenced when she created the trust. My client was Helen Sullivan's husband, his lawyer argued. She clearly intended for him to inherit her estate. This trust was created without his knowledge, which suggests coercion. My lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia whom Mom had actually recommended in one of her final notes, smiled thinly. We have video documentation of Mrs. Sullivan creating this trust, fully explaining her reasons and demonstrating her mental clarity. She placed a laptop on the table and played the video. Mom appeared on screen, looking healthy and determined. This was before her diagnosis. I'm recording this to explain my decisions regarding my estate. Mom's voice filled the room. I'm creating this trust for my daughter, Emma, after observing my husband, Marcus's behavior regarding our finances. Marcus shifted uncomfortably as Mom detailed his attempts to access her accounts, his questions about property values, and his suggestions that she simplify her assets by putting everything in his name. While I hope I'm wrong about his intentions, Mom continued, I've worked too hard building this legacy for my daughter to risk it being diverted or sold for quick profit. The video continued, showing Mom reviewing and signing each document with her lawyer present. Marcus's face grew increasingly pale. We also have documentation, Patricia added, of Mr. Thompson's recent attempts to secure loans against the property, loans he had no authority to pursue but attempted anyway. Marcus's lawyer looked uncomfortable. My client was unaware. We have more? I interrupted, pulling out a folder. Bank statements showing transfers from Mom's account to yours while she was in the hospital. Care to explain those, Marcus? He exploded, mask finally cracking completely. She was my wife. Everything she had should have been mine. You're nothing but a spoiled brat who... I think we're done here, Patricia cut in smoothly. Unless your client would like to explain these financial discrepancies to the fraud division? The mediation ended quickly after that. Outside the room, Marcus grabbed my arm. You bitch, he hissed. You have no idea what you're doing. That house needs repairs, taxes, maintenance. You'll be begging for help soon enough. I pulled away. Actually, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm an architect, remember? Mom made sure I understood everything about maintaining our home, just like she made sure I understood exactly what kind of man you are. Sandra was waiting in the lobby. She'd become a constant support over the past weeks, helping me sort through Mom's belongings and sharing stories I'd never heard. How did it go? She asked, eyeing Marcus as he stormed past. Exactly like Mom thought it would, I replied. She knew he'd try to fight, so she left evidence of everything. That evening, I sat in the garden Mom had loved so much. The roses were blooming, their scent filling the air as the sun set. I'd found her garden journal earlier, filled with notes about each plant and memories of us planting them together. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. This isn't over. You'll regret this. I blocked his number without responding, let him threaten. The house was secure, the trust solid, and his true nature exposed. Sandra joined me, carrying 2 glasses of Mom's favorite wine. Found these in her special cabinet, she said. She was saving them for a celebration. She planned everything so carefully, I mused, taking a glass. Sometimes I wonder if she knew, about her illness, before she married him. Sandra shook her head. She didn't. But she knew men like Marcus. Your father was similar, charming until he got what he wanted. She made sure history wouldn't repeat itself. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the garden in golden light. Inside, Mom's beloved home stood strong and secure, every corner filled with memories no one could take away. To Helen, Sandra raised her glass. The smartest woman I knew. To Mom, I echoed. Who taught me that real love protects, it doesn't take? Later, as I got ready for bed, I found a note tucked in Mom's journal that I hadn't noticed before. Emma, my darling girl, if you're reading this, you've probably had to use the trust documents. I'm sorry if that means I'm not there to help you fight. But remember, our home isn't just walls and floors. It's every lesson we learned together, every dream we shared, every moment of strength we gave each other. No one can take that away. Stand your ground, my brave girl. You are stronger than anyone knows. Love, Mom. I placed the note carefully in my memory box, next to the key to our front door. Marcus might have thought this battle was about property, but he never understood what Mom had really left me, not just a house, but a foundation of love, strength, and the wisdom to protect what matters. The house stood quiet and secure around me, every creaking floorboard and familiar shadow a reminder that I was exactly where I belonged. Mom made sure of that. Hey everyone, I'm Olivia Reeves. I'm 28 now, working as a marketing executive. It's a good job, keeps me busy. But sometimes I catch myself staring out the office window, thinking about how I ended up here. The road wasn't easy, let me tell you. Growing up, our house was like a powder keg, always on the verge of blowing up. My dad, James, meant well. He'd say things like, "Come on, girls, let's all get along," with this hopeful look on his face. But it was never that simple. "Vanessa, sweetheart, do you want the last cookie?" My stepmom, Diane, would coo, acting like I didn't even exist. Vanessa, my stepsister, would smirk and snatch it, making a big show of how good it was. "Thanks, Mom, you always know what I like." Meanwhile, I'd sit there, stomach growling, knowing better than to complain. Complaining just made things worse. Vanessa was younger than me, but she knew how to play the game. She'd wait until Diane was out of earshot and then whisper, "You're not really part of this family, you know. Mom and Dad just keep you around out of pity." I'd clench my fists under the table, trying not to cry. "That's not true," I'd mutter, but deep down, I sometimes wondered if she was right. The worst part, Vanessa was smart. She could twist things, make me look bad no matter what I did. If I did well in school, she'd tell Diane I was showing off. If I struggled, she'd mock me for being dumb. "Mom, Olivia's being mean to me again," she'd whine, right after pinching me or hiding my homework. Diane would swoop in, all concerned for her precious daughter. "Olivia, why can't you be nice to your sister? She's younger than you. You should set a good example." I try to explain, but it never mattered. I was always the problem in their eyes. There was one time when I was 12 that I don't like to talk about, but it changed everything. Let's just say Vanessa went too far, and I got hurt, not just physically, but in a way that left scars you can't see. After that, I learned to keep everything inside. It was safer that way. No one could use my feelings against me if they didn't know I had any. School became my escape. I threw myself into my studies, staying late at the library just to avoid going home. My teachers noticed. "Olivia has so much potential," they'd say. It felt good to be seen for once. But the real lifesaver was Lucas, my next-door neighbor. Somehow, he saw through all the BS. We'd sit on his porch for hours talking about everything and nothing. "You know you don't deserve how they treat you, right?" he'd say, handing me a soda. I'd shrug, trying to play it cool. "It's not that bad. Liv, come on. I've seen how they are. It's not okay." Those talks with Lucas kept me going. He was the one person I could be real with, the one place I didn't have to pretend. As I got older, I started planning my escape. College applications, part-time jobs, anything to get out of that house. I promised myself that one day, I'd have a life where I didn't have to hide who I was. Looking back now, I realize how much that time shaped me. The secrets, the constant tension, always walking on eggshells. It made me who I am. Stronger, yes, but also more guarded than I'd like to admit. I stared down at the cream-colored envelope in my hands, my heart racing. Vanessa's college graduation invitation. After years of silence, this was the last thing I expected. "You okay, Liv?" Ethan's concerned voice snapped me out of my daze. "Yeah, it's from Vanessa. She wants me at her graduation." Ethan frowned. "Your stepsister? The one who made your life hell?" I nodded, still processing. Maybe she's changed. People grow up, right? "I don't know, babe. Sounds risky to me." I called Sophie, needing my best friend's take. "Girl, are you crazy? Why would you even think about going?" "I don't know, Soph. Part of me hopes. Maybe we could start over." Sophie sighed. "You've got a bigger heart than I do. Just be careful, okay?" The day of the ceremony arrived, and I found myself smoothing down my dress, my stomach in knots. "You sure about this?" Ethan squeezed my hand. "No, but I need to do it." We found seats near the back of the auditorium. As the graduates filed in, I spotted Vanessa, her face beaming with pride. Our eyes met, and to my surprise, she smiled and waved. Maybe this wasn't a mistake after all. The ceremony went on, and then Vanessa took the stage for her valedictorian speech. My chest swelled with unexpected pride. "Thank you all for being here today," Vanessa began, her voice strong and confident. "I want to talk about overcoming adversity and the power of family." I leaned forward, intrigued. "I have a stepsister," Vanessa continued, her eyes locking on mine in the crowd. "Olivia, stand up so everyone can see you." Confused but flattered, I stood, offering a small wave. Vanessa's smile turned sharp, almost predatory. "Olivia had a tough childhood. She was always so angry, so difficult to live with." My blood ran cold. This couldn't be happening. When we were kids, Olivia had a breakdown. She became violent, dangerous even. But I stood by her. I protected her from herself. Whispers spread through the audience like wildfire. I felt Ethan tense beside me. I took her to therapy, covered for her outbursts, helped her become a functioning member of society. Tears burned in my eyes as Vanessa continued, twisting every painful memory into a narrative. That speech painted Vanessa as the hero and me as a basket case. Even now, Olivia struggles, but I'm proud of how far she's come under my guidance, Vanessa said, her voice dripping with condescension. I couldn't breathe. The room spun as years of carefully buried trauma came rushing back. Liv, we need to go, Ethan whispered urgently, but I was frozen in place, watching in horror as Vanessa detailed the most humiliating moments of my life. Remember when you tried to run away? Vanessa's voice was thick with false concern. If I hadn't found you. That was it, I bolted, pushing past startled audience members, desperate for air. Outside, I gulped in deep breaths, feeling my carefully constructed life crumble around me. Olivia, wait. Sophie ran after me, Ethan closed behind. How? How could she? I choked out between sobs. Sophie wrapped me in a fierce hug. She's a monster, Liv. None of what she said is true, she assured me. Ethan's face was dark with anger. We should go back in there and set the record straight. I shook my head violently. No, I can't. I can't face them. Then we're leaving, Sophie declared, taking charge. Right now. As they led me to the car, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Lucas. Just heard what happened. I'm here if you need me. I stared at the message, a mix of gratitude and shame washing over me. How many people had witnessed my humiliation? What do you need, Liv? Ethan asked gently as we drove away. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of exposed secrets pressing down on me. I don't know. I need to disappear for a while. Sophie reached back and squeezed my hand. We've got you, girl. Whatever you need. As the campus faded from view, I realized this wasn't just about one ruined day. Vanessa had shattered the walls I'd built, exposing vulnerabilities I thought were long buried. The road ahead looked dark and uncertain, but for now, all I could do was hold on and try to breathe. The days after Vanessa's graduation blurred together. I barely left my apartment, ignoring calls from work until my boss finally said, "Take some time, Olivia. Your health comes first." I was curled up on the couch when Ethan showed up with grocery bags in hand. "I'm making your favorite pasta," he announced. "I'm not hungry," I mumbled. "Tough. You need to eat." As the smell of garlic filled the air, Sophie burst in. "All right, pity party's over. We're getting you out of this funk." I groaned. "Can I just wallow in peace?" "Nope," Lucas chimed in, appearing behind Sophie. "We're your intervention squad." Despite myself, I cracked a smile. "Some squad. What's the plan?" Sophie plopped down beside me. "First, we eat, then we strategize." Over plates of pasta, my friends brainstormed ideas. "You could sue her for defamation," Ethan suggested. I shook my head. "And drag this out in court? No thanks." Lucas leaned forward. "What about exposing her lies? I bet we could find others she's hurt." The idea sparked something in me. That's not a bad thought. Vanessa's left a trail of victims. If we could gather their stories. Sophie grinned. "Now we're talking." Operation Takedown Vanessa is a go. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Where do we start? We divided tasks. Lucas, with his IT skills, would dig into Vanessa's online presence. Sophie, ever the social butterfly, would discreetly reach out to old classmates. Ethan offered to help me organize the evidence. As the days passed, my apartment transformed into command central. Sticky notes covered the walls, each one a piece of Vanessa's web of lies. "Look at this," Lucas called out one evening, waving his laptop. "Vanessa's college blog. She's been stealing other people's stories and passing them off as her own." Sophie burst in, phone in hand. "I just got off the phone with Vanessa's ex-roommate. Apparently, she stole the girl's thesis and tried to submit it as her own." The pieces were falling into place, but something was still missing. I needed to confront my own demons. I think I need to go to therapy," I admitted to Ethan one night. He squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you, Liv. Want me to help you find someone?" My first session was tough. I've spent so long running from my past, I told Dr. Reeves. No relation, thankfully. "It's okay to face it now," she assured me. "You're not that helpless child anymore." Week by week, I felt stronger. I started journaling, pouring out years of pent-up emotions. One day, as I sorted through old photos for evidence, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Hello, is this Olivia Reeves?" A woman's voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Jamie Chen. I'm a journalist with the City Tribune. I was at your stepsister's graduation, and something didn't sit right about her speech. I've been looking into your family's history." My heart raced. "What do you want?" "To hear your side of the story, if you're willing to share it." I hesitated, then thought of everything we'd uncovered. "Actually, Ms. Chen, I think I have a lot to tell you." That night, I called an emergency meeting with my support squad. "A journalist wants to interview me about Vanessa," I announced. Sophie's eyes widened. "Whoa, are you going to do it?" I took a deep breath. "I think I have to. It's time to reclaim my narrative." Lucas nodded approvingly. "We've got enough dirt to bury Vanessa 10 times over." "It's not about burying her," I said, surprising myself. "It's about telling the truth. All of it." Ethan pulled me close. "Whatever you decide, we're with you." As I looked around at my friends, I felt a surge of strength. Vanessa had tried to define me with her lies, but she had failed. I had my own story to tell, and for the first time, I was ready to tell it. The day Jamie Chen's expose hit the newsstands, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I'd given her everything. The evidence, the testimonies, my own raw, unfiltered truth. Seeing it all laid out in black and white was surreal. "Liv, have you seen this?" Ethan's voice crackled through the phone. "Vanessa's university is revoking her degree." I felt a strange mix of vindication and sadness. It's what she deserves, but still. Sophie burst into my apartment, waving her tablet. "Girl, you won't believe this. Vanessa's law firm just fired her. Apparently, they did some digging after the article came out." It was like dominoes falling. Vanessa's carefully constructed facade was crumbling, and for once I wasn't the one buried in the rubble. Weeks later, I stood outside my childhood home, heart pounding. It was time to face my family. "You've got this," Lucas whispered, squeezing my hand before I went in alone. The confrontation was brutal but cathartic. I laid out every painful memory, every manipulation, backed by years of evidence. "How could you let this happen?" I asked my dad, my voice breaking. He looked older, defeated. "Olivia, I'm so sorry. I didn't see." "You didn't want to see," I corrected him. Diane tried to interject, but I cut her off. "I don't want your excuses or your apologies. I'm here to say goodbye." Walking away from that house for the last time, I felt lighter than I had in years. Months passed. I threw myself into writing my memoir, pouring out every dark secret and hard-won triumph. When it hit the bestseller list, I used the platform to launch a support network for abuse survivors. "You're doing amazing things, Liv," Ethan said one night as we celebrated my book's success. I smiled, feeling truly at peace. "We're doing amazing things. I couldn't have done this without you all." As for Vanessa, last I heard she was facing fraud charges. But her story wasn't mine anymore. I had my own to write, and for the first time in my life, the future looked brighter than ever. Hey, I'm Florence. I'm 24, slinging coffee by day and chasing my writing dreams by night. Not exactly where I thought I'd be at this point, but hey, a girl's got to eat, right? "Florence, table 3 needs a refill." My manager calls out. I nod, grabbing the pot. Just another day in paradise. As I top off mugs, my phone buzzes. Mom, probably calling about Brittany's engagement party. I brace myself and answer on my break. "Florence, honey, have you picked up your dress for the party yet?" she asks. I sigh. "Not yet, Mom. I've been busy with work and, well, made sure it's not too flashy. We don't want to outshine Brittany on her big day, right? Heaven forbid anyone steal the spotlight from golden child Brittany." After my shift, I meet up with my best friend, Alex, at our favorite diner. "So how's the great American novel coming along?" he asks, sliding into the booth. I groan, burying my face in my hands. "It's not. I can't focus with all this party drama." Alex rolls his eyes. "Ah, yes, the engagement extravaganza. How's dear cousin Brittany?" "Perfect as always," I mutter. "You know how it is. Brittany's getting married, and I'm, well, here." "Hey," Alex says, his tone serious. "You're doing just fine. Don't let them get in your head." I nod, but it's hard. Every family gathering is a minefield of comparisons and helpful suggestions about my life choices. Later that week, I'm at my parents' house, helping with party prep. Mom's in full stress mode. Florence, be a dear and hang these streamers. And remember, Brittany likes them just so. I bite back a sarcastic comment and start hanging. That's when I hear Brittany's voice floating from the kitchen. Oh, Aunt Karen, you're too kind. Florence? Oh, she's finding her way. Bless her heart. My cheeks burn. Classic Brittany, sweet as pie to your face, sharp as a knife behind your back. As the day winds down, Dad pulls me aside. Flory, I know things have been tough, but try to be happy for Brittany, okay? No more of your incidents. Incidents? Like the time Brittany's harmless prank at my high school graduation left me with a sprained ankle. But sure, I'm the problem. Despite it all, I'm determined to make this work, to be the bigger person. As I leave, Mom calls out, don't forget, the party starts at 6 sharp. And Florence, do try to smile more. I force a grin and wave goodbye. But as I drive home, I can't shake this feeling of dread. Brittany's parties always end in disaster for me, one way or another. But this time will be different, right? This time, I'll keep my cool, play nice, and maybe just maybe get through one family event without drama. The date of Brittany's engagement party arrives and I'm determined to stay positive. I show up early, plastering on my best fake smile as I help set up. Florence, you actually clean up nice, Brittany chirps, eyeing my dress. Though, honey, you might want to ease up on the carbs, just saying. I grit my teeth. Thanks, Britt, you look lovely. As guests pour in, I play the role of the perfect, supportive cousin. Smile, nod, laugh at the right moments. But Brittany seems determined to push my buttons. During the toasts, she clinks her glass. I just want to thank everyone for coming. Even Florence managed to tear herself away from her little coffee shop dreams. Laughter ripples through the crowd, my cheeks burn. Alex, bless him, squeezes my hand under the table. Ignore her, he whispers. But Brittany's just warming up. As we move to the buffet, she loudly comments, oh Flo, maybe skip the cake. Wouldn't want to strain those dress seams. I bite my tongue so hard I taste blood. Then come the group photos. Brittany insists I stand at the back, for height reasons. Thought we're the same height. Brittany, I finally snap. Can we not do this today? She blinks innocently. Do what? I'm just trying to include you, Flo. No need to be so sensitive. As the party progresses, her jokes grow meaner, more pointed. Each one chips away at my resolve. Remember when Florence thought she'd be a famous author by now? Bless her heart. Oh, Flo's still single. Well, not everyone can be lucky in love and life. I'm at my breaking point when Brittany announces a special surprise. Florence, be a dear and help me in the kitchen, she calls sweetly. Against my better judgment, I follow her. In the kitchen, a large pot sits on the stove. I thought we'd do a little tea ceremony, Brittany explains. You know, for cultured people. As she lifts the pot, I see a glint in her eye that makes my blood run cold. Before I can react, she stumbles. Searing pain explodes across my chest and arms as boiling water cascades over me. I scream, my vision blurring. Oh my God. Brittany shrieks. It was an accident. Florence, why did you get in the way? Through the haze of pain, I see her smirk. This was no accident. Chaos erupts. People rush in, voices overlapping. Call an ambulance. Brittany, are you okay? Alex pushes through the crowd, his face pale. Florence, we need to get her to the hospital now. But Mom steps in, her voice tight. Now, let's not overreact. I'm sure it's not that bad. Florence, stop making such a fuss. You're ruining Brittany's party. I can't believe what I'm hearing. My skin feels like it's on fire. And they're worried about the party. Are you kidding me? Alex explodes. She needs medical attention. Brittany sniffles dramatically. I feel terrible. Florence, can't you just put some ice on it? That's when I snap. Through gritted teeth, I manage to say, Alex, get me out of here. As Alex leads me out, ignoring my family's protests, my phone starts pinging like crazy. Later, I'll see a barrage of angry messages. How could you make such a scene? You always have to make everything about you. Brittany is devastated. I hope you're happy. In the car, racing toward the hospital, the pain is overwhelming. But something else cuts deeper. The realization that my family cares more about a party than my well-being. You're going to be okay, Alex keeps saying, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I nod, fighting back tears. But as the adrenaline fades and the true horror of what just happened sinks in, I can't help but wonder, will anything ever be okay again? The hospital room is quiet except for the steady beep of machines. I stare at my bandaged arms, still processing the events of the past few days. Alex walks in, his face a mix of concern and anger. "How you holding up, Flo?" "Like I've been boiled alive," I mutter. "Any word from the family?" He hesitates. "Your parents called. They want you to consider not pressing charges, for the sake of family unity." I laugh bitterly, wincing at the pain it causes. Family unity, right. Just then, we heard voices outside my hospital room. It was my aunt and uncle, Brittany's parents. "I don't know why Florence is making such a big deal out of this," my aunt hissed. "Brittany's always been a bit competitive with her, but she'd never do something like this on purpose." My uncle sighed. "Remember the science fair incident, or Florence's college acceptance party?" There was a pause. "Those were different," my aunt insisted. "Brittany was just a kid then." As their voices faded, Alex and I exchanged shocked looks. "Science fair incident?" he asked. Memories flooded back. The night before judging, my project mysteriously ruined and Brittany winning first place. I always assumed it was an accident, but now... "Alex," I said slowly, "I think we need to do some digging." Over the next few days, as I recovered, Alex became a one-man investigation team. He talked to old classmates, dug up yearbooks, and even sweet-talked my grandmother into sharing some old family videos. What he uncovered made me sick. "Flo, look at this," he said, showing me his phone. It was a series of texts from Brittany to her friend, dated the day before the engagement party. "Can't wait to put little Miss Perfect in her place tomorrow. Got a special surprise planned." "She planned it," I whispered, feeling numb. "All of it." But the revelations didn't stop there. Alex had compiled a list. My ruined science fair project. Brittany had bragged to friends about sabotaging it. The accidental punch spill on my prom dress. Premeditated. Even my recent breakup. Brittany had been feeding my ex lies about me for months. As the evidence piled up, my family's pressure to forgive and forget grew more intense. "Florence, honey," my mom said during one visit, "I know Brittany can be difficult, but she's family. Can't you just let this go?" I stared at her, disbelieving. "Let it go." "Mom, I have second-degree burns." She flinched. "I know, but..." "No buts." I cut her off. "This ends now." The confrontation came sooner than I expected. "Oh, Flo, I feel just awful." "It was a terrible accident. You forgive me, right? For the sake of the family?" Brittany said, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. I looked at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time. "Drop the act, Brittany. I know everything." Her face changed, the mask slipping. "Everything? The science fair, the prom dress, my ex, this accident, all of it." For a moment she looked cornered. Then her eyes narrowed. "So what? It's not my fault you're so pathetic that taking you down is child's play." Gasps filled the room. We both turned to see my parents and Alex standing in the doorway, having heard everything. "Brittany," my mom exclaimed, shocked. But Brittany was done pretending. "Oh, please. You all made it so easy, always comparing us, always pushing perfect Florence in my face. Well, guess what? I won. I always win." She stormed out, leaving the room in stunned silence. My parents looked shell-shocked. Alex was furious, and me? I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Free. "I think," I said quietly, "we need to talk about some changes in this family." I made a decision that shocked everyone. I was cutting ties with the toxic parts of my family, including my parents, who had enabled Brittany for years. "Florence, you can't be serious," my mom pleaded over the phone. "I am," I replied, my voice steady. "I need to focus on healing, physically and emotionally." It wasn't easy, but with each day, I felt stronger. I poured my pain, anger, and hope into writing. The words flowed like never before, and before I knew it, I had a manuscript. Alex read it first. "Flo, this is incredible. You have to publish it." To my surprise, extended family members and old friends reached out, offering their support. "We always knew something was off with Brittany," my cousin Sarah admitted. "We should have said something sooner." As I focused on my recovery and writing, news about Brittany trickled in. Her fiancé had called off the engagement after learning the truth, and her job had let her go due to character concerns. Meanwhile, my book, Burned But Not Broken, caught the attention of a publisher. Suddenly, I was doing interviews and book signings. The girl who once felt invisible was now being heard. One day, I received a call from my dad. "Florence, we've been doing a lot of thinking and therapy. We'd like to try to make amends." I took a deep breath. "I appreciate that, Dad, but I need more time." The day of my book launch arrived and the venue was packed with supportive faces. Alex, my new friends, even some family members who had recognized the truth and made amends. As I stood at the podium, I caught sight of a familiar face slipping in at the back, Brittany, looking far less polished than I remembered. For a moment, our eyes met. I saw anger there, but also something else, regret, envy. It didn't matter. I had moved on. "Thank you all for coming," I began. "This book is about survival, about rising from the ashes of betrayal and finding your own voice." As applause filled the room, a sense of peace washed over me. The road had been hard, but I had come out stronger. And as I looked out at the sea of supportive faces, I knew that while blood might be thicker than water, true family is the one you choose. And that's a wrap on Florence's journey from family scapegoat to successful author. Now I've got a question that might stir up some debate. If you were in Florence's shoes, would you ever consider reconciling with your parents, knowing they enabled years of abuse? Is there a point where family loyalty should end, or should we always leave the door open for redemption? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hey, I'm Linda, a 28-year-old marketing executive with a flair for creativity and a talent for transforming coffee into successful campaigns. I live what most people would call a fairy tale life in downtown Chicago with my husband Mark, a brilliant software engineer who's as charming as he is smart. We met in the most classic rom-com way, bumping into each other at a coffee shop. One spilled latte, a whirlwind romance, and a dream wedding later. Here we are, 2 years into marriage and talking about starting a family. "Mark, have you thought about nursery colors?" I asked one evening, scrolling through Pinterest. "Huh? Oh, yeah. How about blue?" he replied, barely looking up from his laptop. I chuckled. "Blue? That's so predictable. How about a nice sunny yellow?" "Whatever you think is best, honey," he said with a distracted smile. Little did I know, beneath our picture-perfect life, trouble was brewing. Mark's parents, Richard and Linda, had never fully warmed up to me. I get it, I'm not from their world of country clubs and trust funds, but a little acceptance would be nice. Take last week's family dinner, for example. Richard raised his glass, his gaze sharp like a hawk's. "To family," he said, his voice laced with hidden meaning. "May it grow appropriately." I nearly choked on my wine. Did he really just say that? Not to be outdone, Linda added with her signature passive-aggressive sweetness. "Yes, dear. Motherhood isn't for everyone, you know. We hope you're ready for the challenge." I forced a smile, squeezing Mark's hand under the table. He squeezed back but didn't say a word. "Thanks for the backup, hubby." Months passed, and despite our efforts, no baby. That's when Richard suggested Dr. Anderson, a renowned fertility specialist. "Only the best for family," he said, his smile never quite reaching his eyes. I nodded, trying to ignore the sinking feeling in my gut. Thank goodness for Emma, my colleague and best friend. "Linda, you okay?" she asked one day, noticing my distracted mood. "Yeah, just family stuff," I sighed. "Mark's parents again?" she asked, rolling her eyes. "Girl, you need to stand up to them." I know. It's just complicated," I muttered, not wanting to get into it. But as I left work that day, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Little did I know, my seemingly perfect life was about to unravel in ways I couldn't have imagined. 6 months into our baby-making journey, I was starting to feel like a broken record. Another day, another negative pregnancy test. It felt like a punch to the gut every time. And don't even get me started on Dr. Anderson. The guy was acting stranger by the day. "Dr. Anderson, what do these results mean?" I asked during our last appointment, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. He shuffled his papers, avoiding eye contact. "Well, Mrs. Johnson, it's inconclusive at this point." Inconclusive? What does that even mean? Things at home weren't much better. One night, I overheard Mark and his dad having a heated argument. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but Richard's voice carried like a foghorn. "She's not good enough for this family," he boomed. "If she can't even give you a child." I couldn't make out the rest, but my heart sank faster than an elevator with cut cables. Mark's response was too quiet to hear. Probably some half-hearted defense. Thanks for nothing, hubby. At work, Emma could sense something was wrong. Linda, you look like you've been through hell. What's going on? I spilled everything, the failed test, Dr. Anderson's evasiveness, the argument I overheard. Maybe you should get a second opinion, she suggested. Something feels off about Dr. Anderson. I was mulling over Emma's advice when things took an even weirder turn. I started noticing a car following me around. At first, I thought I was being paranoid. But after a few days, I was sure someone was tailing me. One afternoon, I'd had enough. I whipped my car around and confronted the driver. Who are you and why are you following me? The guy looked panicked. I'm just... Spill it, I demanded. He cracked almost immediately. Turns out Richard had hired him to keep tabs on me. Can you believe that? Meanwhile, Mark was practically a ghost in our marriage. Late nights at work had become his new routine, and whenever I tried to talk to him, he either snapped or completely ignored me. Mark, can we talk? I asked one night, hoping for some connection. Not now, Linda. I'm tired, he mumbled, not even bothering to look up from his phone. The final blow came at a charity event, orchestrated by none other than my dear mother-in-law. Oh, Linda, she exclaimed, feigning surprise. Have you met Vanessa? She and Mark were so close in college. Such a shame things didn't work out. Vanessa smiled sweetly, but there was a predatory glint in her eyes. As I watched her and Mark chatting, laughing at old inside jokes, I felt the last fragile threads of my life unraveling. Standing there, watching my husband with his ex, I realized something had to change. This wasn't the life I had signed up for. It was time to start asking some hard questions and demanding real answers. One thing was crystal clear. I deserved better than this circus masquerading as a family. Enough was enough. I decided to take control and booked an appointment with Dr. Martinez, another fertility specialist. After a battery of tests, she delivered the news. Mrs. Johnson, I can say with certainty that you're perfectly capable of conceiving. There's no medical reason preventing you from getting pregnant. Felt like I'd been blindsided, but Dr. Anderson said, I'm sorry, but Dr. Anderson's diagnosis seems questionable at best, she replied. Armed with this bombshell, I marched into Dr. Anderson's office. Care to explain why Dr. Martinez says I'm perfectly fertile? His face went pale. Mrs. Johnson, I can explain. Start talking, I demanded. And he did. He spilled everything. Richard had tried to bribe him into falsely diagnosing me as infertile. I didn't take the money, Dr. Anderson stammered, but I did stall your treatment. I was livid. You played with my emotions, my marriage, my future. How dare you? Leaving his office, I knew I had to dig deeper. That night, I set up a hidden camera in our living room. Call it intuition, but something about Mark's late nights felt off. 2 days later, I watched the footage, and my world crumbled. There was Mark, wrapped around Vanessa, on our couch. Our couch. I felt sick. Immediately, I called Emma, my hands shaking. I need your help. What's wrong? She asked. I need to hack into Mark's emails. Can you help? Emma, ever the loyal friend, came through like a pro. What we uncovered made my blood run cold. Emails between Mark, Richard, and Linda, all plotting to push me out of the family. Look at this, Emma pointed at the screen. There's something here about Richard's company too. We dug deeper and hit the jackpot. Evidence of a major financial scandal. Karma's a real piece of work, isn't it, Richard? Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, Linda invited me for tea. Sitting across from me, she slid a document across the table. It's just a formality, dear, she said, her smile as fake as her pearls. A post-nuptial agreement to protect everyone's interests. I wanted to laugh in her face, but instead, I smiled sweetly. I'll have my lawyer look it over. Speaking of lawyers, I realized I needed one. Swallowing my pride, I made a call I never thought I would. Jack, it's Rita. I need your help. We hadn't spoken in years, but desperate times call for desperate measures. As I explained everything to my estranged brother, a plan began forming in my mind. It was time for some good old-fashioned revenge. Over the next few weeks, I became a regular Sherlock Holmes. I gathered every scrap of evidence. The fertility test results, a recording of Dr. Anderson's confession, thank you, voice recorder app, the video of Mark's betrayal, those damning emails, and proof of Richard's financial misdeeds. Each piece of evidence felt like a nail in their coffin. "You sure about this, Linda?" Emma asked. One night, as we went over everything, I nodded with a grim smile. They messed with the wrong woman. It was time they learned that actions have consequences. Looking at the mountain of evidence before me, I felt a strange mix of sadness and determination. This wasn't how I'd imagined my fairy tale marriage would end, but sometimes you have to burn it all down to build something better. Justice was approaching, and I was ready. They thought they could break me, push me out, but they had no idea who they were dealing with. Linda Johnson doesn't go down without a fight, and boy, was I ready to fight. The moment of truth arrived on a sunny Saturday morning. I'd asked Mark to stay home, claiming we needed to talk about our future. As he walked into the living room, I sat there, cool as a cucumber, a folder in my lap. "We do need to talk about our future, Mark," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, or rather, the lack of it. "What do you mean?" he asked, confusion written across his face. I laid it all out. His infidelity, the conspiracy with his parents, everything. With each revelation, the color drained from his face. How did you?" he stammered. I ignored his question and handed him an envelope. "Divorce papers. Sign them without contest or your family's dirty laundry goes public." He signed without a word. Good boy. Next up was Dr. Anderson. I anonymously sent a detailed report, along with his recorded confession, to the medical board. Bye-bye, medical license. For Richard, I had something special in store. I gave him a call. "Hello, Linda. To what do I owe this pleasure?" His voice dripped with sarcasm. "Cut the crap, Richard. I know about your financial scandal. Transfer a hefty divorce settlement to me, or I'll make sure the world knows, too." There was a long pause. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me," he complied grudgingly. I almost felt bad. Almost. The coup de grace, I leaked the information about Richard's scandal to Emma's journalist friend. The story hit like a tsunami. Richard's company stocks nosedived, and the feds came knocking. Linda's social circle evaporated faster than spilled champagne. No more fancy galas for you, Linda. Even Vanessa got her comeuppance, an anonymous tip to her employer about her role in the scheme, and, poof, there went her job and reputation. As the dust settled, I found myself at a new beginning. With Richard's settlement, I started my own marketing firm with Emma. "To new beginnings?" Emma said, raising her glass in our brand new office. "And karma," I added with a grin. 2 years flew by. I stood in my office, admiring the Chicago skyline, when my phone buzzed. Richard's company had filed for bankruptcy, and he was drowning in lawsuits. Mark. Last I'd heard, he was stuck in a dead-end job, his career in ruins. I placed a hand on my growing belly and smiled. Life had thrown me a curveball, but I'd hit it out of the park. This baby inside me was a promise of a better future. My new partner, a kind man I'd met through work, was everything Mark wasn't. As I felt a little kick, I made a silent vow. This child would know only love, respect, and loyalty, the true meaning of family. The sun was setting as I packed up, ready to head home. The sky was a canvas of orange and pink, as if it were celebrating with me. I faced betrayal and come out on top on my own terms. Walking out, I couldn't help but smirk. The price of betrayal had been high for them. For me, I was just getting started. Life's funny that way. Sometimes you've got to lose it all to win everything. And boy, had I won. If you were in my shoes, would you have taken revenge on your in-laws and ex-husband, or would you have walked away without looking back? What do you think is more empowering, getting even, or moving on?